So I'm pretty stoked to show you guys something here. So I actually got a gift from my wife, believe it or not, and it actually ends up being one of my dream cars. And so here it is. So this has always been one of my weird bucket list cars. As anybody who knows me knows that I like a lot of weird cars. And but the thing is that it's old. It has a lot of problems, lots of owners, lots of things that have been done to it that I'm not a huge fan of. But it's part of it when it comes down to being an old car. So I'm going to go over a few things about the car that I do not like, or things that are probably going to have to get changed out sooner than later. The first thing is that they have this Defi boost gauge that has some wiring here to a DT connector, but actually isn't powered. The gauge works, but has no power to it. Let's go ahead and start this thing up here. As you can see, it starts right up. This one has an RB25. It is all-wheel drive. It is automatic. So the first thing is for me is that the coolant temp gauge doesn't work. Car doesn't overheat that I know of, because my drive to work is probably about a 20-minute drive, and I've driven it to and from work and never had an issue with overheating. So so that's one. Gauge cluster doesn't work. Well, the gauge cluster mostly works. Now another thing that I do not like is, as you can see, there's a Momo wheel on here, but they have like the world's most beat up quick release here, and the clock spring is gone. So with the clock spring not being there, horn doesn't work. And the biggest annoyance to me is that the turn signal cancel switch doesn't work. So you can see, even though the wheel's been turned, I have to manually turn on and off the lights. Now, the one last thing about this car that I do not like, and my R32 Skyline had the same problem as well, is that this car has something called central locking. So meaning that when you lock the doors, all of them lock. So I'm going to unlock the driver door here, and you'll see that they all unlocked, and that includes the hatch. And now the reason why I'm not a huge fan of it, for me, is actually because the key fob doesn't work. The battery's new, it's old, it doesn't work. So we're gonna have to figure out what to do about getting this working here. I don't mind using the key for now, but it is kind of an annoyance. So this is probably not a huge deal at the moment. One of the bigger things for me is that the seat belt is all frayed. So you can see that it's all falling apart here. So that's gonna have to get replaced. We're gonna have to get a clock spring and hopefully a new quick release to fix this situation here. So I'm gonna have to look into that. This car does have a parking pole right here. The parking pole is just a pole that it's almost like a radio antenna that goes up and down, and it's to help you know where the corner of the car is, and that doesn't work. I don't really care too much about this, but it is nice to have buttons that work and do things. Now, the one last thing, and this is I think the only real thing on the interior that bothers me, is that the pin in here that locks the gas cap is completely broken. It's not there anymore. So as you can see, the gas cap is just flapping around there. One other thing that I've noticed too is that these cars are well known for rusting around this area. It's something about how the window pulls up right here, so I'm kind of afraid to know what's going to be on the inside, on the other side of this. Now another thing too is that the folding mirror on this side, the motor sometimes works, so it'll fold, and when you go to unfold it, it sometimes will partially unfold, or sometimes it fully unfolds. Again, not a big deal. It's not a function that really concerns me, but it is something that I do know is broken. And finally, of course, here's the parking pole here, and flipping the switch doesn't seem to do anything. So I'm not sure. I've never had a vehicle that has it, so I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be done. And then we've got a busted corner light here. Again, not the end of the world. It is a 1997, so it's just things that I'd like to fix as time goes on. Okay, so I inspected some things off camera and dealing with the hub here. And so you can see that the hubs are mismatched. One, then we've got a broken screw in the actual hub. But looking down here, I can see the connector floating down here for the clock spring. So this is all going to get replaced. We're going to get a new short hub, new quick release all together. That way we have everything to do all the wiring to get this all situated on this end, and then that will be good. So unfortunately, got to order some parts. Okay, so this is my central locking here, and you can see someone's soldered some wires before to this, and so basically they did this wrong. So I'm pretty sure they tried to do an aftermarket alarm. And so I could only find one picture on a forum on Skyline in Australia from like literally 20 years ago. And it shows that the solder connections are actually these two pins right here. So it's actually this pin and this pin here. So if you look, I'm going to orientate this the same way. And you can see that the board shows that these 4 pins. And then they tapped from these two on the side here, which obviously didn't work. So I'm going to work on desoldering this really quick and then moving the wires to the correct spot. Okay, so we got the wires soldered on. I'm going to reinstall this, check functionality to make sure everything's working. I'm going to go ahead and also grab my power probe so we can test all this to make sure that it all works. Okay, so I got it working. Just real quick here, I'm going to ground this wire, and it should... Okay, so that's unlock. This gray wire should lock everything. Bam. So as you can see, the door lock on the driver's side moved. Then I'm going to hit it with this blue wire and it should unlock. All right, so blue unlocks and then gray locks. So we'll try that again. So there you go. Definitely working there. Before I put everything back together, I just want to show you guys that I put a little rubber grommet into the back of this. Now, before I put this all back up as well, so people are probably going to wonder why I didn't tap from here. I checked continuity on the board from those 2 pins to here, and nothing had continuity. So you can't tap it that way through the wires, unfortunately. Not that I know of anyway. So I just did it the way that I found online, and it worked like a charm.
Many months later.
So we got a box here from our friend Colton over at Boost Factory up in Canada, and he's given me a couple things here, or I purchased some things from him. So this is the gas cap cable assembly here. So it comes with the cable, and then obviously we have the actual plunger that locks it in place. We were able to grab a clock spring from him, so that's good there. This is the actual lever. I didn't need this lever, but he said that he would throw it in anyways because he wasn't using it. So I got the lever as a spare part. And then finally, we've got a seat belt that's hopefully in better condition than mine is. So by the way things are looking, we've got a good bit of parts here and it looks way better than what I've got. So I'm super stoked on getting this stuff put in and slowly restoring my Stagia.